Greetings from Costa Rica. We're in the galactic 0 point in the no time, in the no space, with another time capsule. This time capsule is on the galactic kin number 204, yellow solar seed. And so I am a seed. I was born in the yellow tribe, 144 yellow magnetic seed. And so we're here to bring the flowering of the consciousness and here to inform, carrying some secrets of Atlantis. I always say we're in the rewrite of the fall of Atlantis right now. We're in the Sophiana correction. And so, yeah, I've been feeling that these solar flare seed fires today in my communications and galactivations and connections on the grids. And yeah, let's just start out with getting us synced in the galactic time with the galactic affirmation 204, yellow solar seed. I pulse in order to target, realizing awareness. I seal the input of flowering with the solar tone of intention, and I am guided by the power of universal fire. And the universal fire is a part of the sun tribe, the solar tribe. And we're still on the wave of the warrior. So we're on the 9th day of the wave of the warrior. So we started out this cycle on magnetic warrior, and we've been on a few calls since then, just kind of weaving these transmissions. And yeah, so we've got 4 more days to go. And then we're going to be rolling into the magnetic moon cycle, which is about the purification and the universal water. So yeah, finishing out this warrior wave, and I feel it. And actually, so I started my day connecting with my star brother he's from New Zealand. And he was just in Egypt, and then he was on a train in Saudi Arabia. So I was on the phone with him this morning. Well, I don't even have a phone number. We were on like this Google meetup or whatever. He doesn't have Facebook. We always get galactic synchronized in the right moment in time. And so at this moment, he's on a train in Saudi Arabia, and he like shows me a picture outside. And actually, Marcus, maybe you can share it. I just sent you a little snapshot that I took of it. It was kind of crazy to see him going through this Saudi Arabia. And of course, like as I'm looking at that grid, as I'm looking at that land, as I'm bilocating or remote viewing, you might say, because there's no time, no space, we collapse all fields, right? And we're working in the galactic synchronization. We're working in the holographic field. It's like I'm there, right? It's like I'm there in Saudi Arabia, and but I'm utilizing this piece of technology to kind of connect this grid together. And so, anyways, I look out the window and of him on the train, and it's just like a desert. That's what it's like over there, right? And I was thinking about, well, the abuse of her, the abuse of the mother. Like you could say like, oh, it's cool, it's beautiful, desert, like whatever. I was thinking of Egypt too, and the pyramids, and how they're just kind of sitting in this very dry, dusty plain, like there's no blue or green. There's no life. There's no colors of the rainbow. And so I was telling him this. I was like, wow, this is like the mother destroyed. And of course, his perspective was a little more like, he felt like it was the crust and the dragon mother energy. And so I could hear what he was saying, and we were kind of like piecing this energy together, But from my perspective, when I looked at this picture, I was like, this looks like annihilation. This looks like destruction. this looks like a planet void of life and vibrancy. And that's just my take on it, right? Like we all have different perspectives. And I was telling him how surely if above the ground looks like that, areas of West Texas are called Ancient Ocean over at Big Bend National Park. Well, you know what? So you're taking me to the next phase of this, because that's what I was telling my homeboy. I was like, you know, it made me think of the western part of the United States. Like when you look at the map of the United States, you can look over on the west side. You know, you can look on that west side and you can kind of see in that Sedona, Utah area, it looks like a scar, right? It looks like there was an explosion. Like it looks very desert, brown stone. Now, for me, in my recall, there used to be oceanic life there. And I have had many people like that I know that have lived in Utah or visited Utah that have said they found, you know, shells in the high mountains. And actually, if you watch like the movie Atlantis, which is actually a Disney publication, but there are a lot of codes in the Atlantis movie if you've never watched it before. Yes, River? Oh, you're gonna have to ask Papa for help right now, baby. I cannot help you in this moment, okay? But I love you so much. And yeah, so you can kind of like, you can feel the scar, you can feel the destruction, you can feel the explosion. And what you can feel is more than likely, right? If it looks like that above, then more than likely you're not looking at like tree and root systems and soil systems below. There is likely underground technology there, right? And so I never thought about this until I watched this video one time about the Grady Treaty. And it's under the premise. Now, this is debatable information, I guess you could say. According to Laura Eisenhower, it's debatable information. But the first time that the Grady Treaty came into my awareness and I watched it, I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting to consider. They were talking about the idea, maybe you all have heard the story before, that President Eisenhower was visited by a race of beings. The first race of beings, they say, were Nordics or Palladian type of beings. Can't recall the exact details. The idea was that they had proposed that they would share technologies with him to bring peace to the earth in exchange for ending all nuclear weapons. And then the other part of the story, whether this is fabricated or not, this is the video that I watched, was that he was approached by the gray aliens and that the grays had proposed to him free energy technology and military technology, and for exchange of experimentation on the human race. And I mean, it sounded so crazy when I heard it, but I was like, holy fuck, could this be true? This is in the 50s, 1950s. He came into presidency, it was the 53rd. No, not 53rd, sorry, that's not right. But 1953. It was Truman 1952. It was Eisenhower 1953. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't think there's ever been a good president of the United States that didn't have to go through a secret society satanic ritual to get into their position. Shocker. Just in case you still believe that the presidents are here to serve the light, I'm not in denial of the possibility of someone having a walk-in process. Like, I have kind of seen the idea that maybe there are people in particular positions for what could be called the dark side, or the polar opposite side, that maybe have a change of their ways. But to be initiated into a position of leadership power on a presidential scale, there is no doubt a level of sacrifice, human sacrifice, that has taken place to be appointed to a position like that. There's no exceptions to this rule. The whole thing's rigged. This is part of the true cosmic disclosure. Shocker. And so anyways, going back to the idea of this Grady Treaty, it seems that there was a little more curiosity or influence on the side of human experimentation and nuclear weapons and free energy machine types of technologies, which that's what I feel like the military actually is. The military industrial complex is like an experiment, excuse me, with technologies. Even when I hear of the idea of UFOs, that all feels military to me. It feels like mimic code. It feels like the idea of trying to replicate free energy technologies, but with the harvesting of resources and quite a complicated building technology to even make it. I've always felt like the idea of the UFO phenomenons was a psyop, and that it was actually about justifying or normalizing the idea of military in the skies, supposedly protecting the human race with their little, lasers and shit like that. There is no threat from UFOs on this planet. The threats are in the White House. I always say aliens in the White House, a lie in the White House. Look, this is just my personal perspective. You don't have to take my word for it. You can believe whatever you want to believe. This is just where I've been coming from, sitting in the 0 point, pretty much off technology, connecting with my inner perspectives of reality and carrying the codes of remembrance of our eternal nature, beyond monetary systems, beyond medical systems, beyond artificial intelligence systems, beyond phantom matrices that are here controlling, dominating, and parasiting off of humanity's life force energy. So anyways, going back to this Grady Treaty, I had never considered the idea of underground technology or inner earth technology. Like when I used to hear of like inner earth technology or inner earth beings, like I would picture some like rustic old looking cave or something like under the ground with like bats and like mud and stuff like that. But then eventually, as I started to open and expand my mind and understand the infrastructure of the grid system, there is so much more under the ground and operating under the ground that we could have no idea about. And the military actually is covering all of that up. So all of that's been hidden, and everyone's still just caught up in this whole idea of like Roswell 1947 and this one UFO and this gray alien that was discovered, when there's like a whole universe within the inner earth that certain beings have clearance and abilities to travel through. Tunnel systems, travel systems, things like that. The whole idea with the Greys was that they built a multi-level technology over in the Western United States, which you might call Area 51. Now, this is all speculation. Like, I haven't went down there myself, but I'd sure like to go check it out, And if anybody else has gone down there, let me know. I mean, some people talk about remote viewing, but I'm talking about like, take me down there. Let me see what's going on for myself. Maybe it's just root systems and soil, but I doubt it because there's nothing growing on the top of the land, And so anyways, what they were saying is that in this particular video, and if anybody wants to see this and check it out, message me and I'll find this video and I'll get it to you. They were talking about how they melted the sand, or they made like inner earth glass tunnels. And we're talking massive size. Like we're talking about like jets and tanks and vehicles, right? And like internal living systems inside the earth. It's like, it kind of just can blow your mind and expand it a little more open. It's not something you necessarily see a bunch of pictures about and are able to like envision in your mind. You have to use your imagination a little bit here. So when people talk about going off planet and going to other planets, I'm like, what about the Earth? What's inside here? What's below the surface? And then you think of like Tartaria or something like that. And it's like everything that's ever happened and ever will happen already happened. So we're really, time is the construct that keeps us in some kind of chronological order of history and believing just what we've been told, unfortunately. And so we're tuning into the inner memory. That's where I'm sitting at. It's not really about reading a book or because somebody said so. Like, this feels, in my world, in my reality, this feels true to me. And so I'm just expressing that with you. And it was interesting because somebody had told me one time, I've never been to Burning Man, which I believe they're doing satanic rituals there, period. You know, when people talk about the idea of satanic rituals and sacrifice, like news just came out about the electric forest vibe that just happened in Michigan, and they found like a birthed child and a placenta. And it's like, there is sacrifice going on all levels at a lot of these festivals. There's a lot of mind control experimentation going on with the drugs and with the light systems and with the sound systems. That's what MK Ultra is all about. And there's a whole lot more coming out about the idea of MK Ultra. I mean, psychedelics basically were birthed out of these experiences. And so I do believe that they can be used to expand the consciousness and to break through constructs. And I guess everything can be used, good for the light or the dark. All right. So anyways, getting back to this idea of inner tunnel systems and the idea of glass tunnel systems under the earth, and there being like multi-levels of clearance, like, you know, the humans that have no idea what's really going on an ET level could go down to maybe the first level subterranean. And then there were other ones that had more secret clearance that could go down into the next levels of dimensions, you could say, right? Next levels of depth in the inner earth. This is all just something to imagine and to consider when you think about inner earth and the idea of there being beings in the earth and the different things that might be going on down there. You could think of it also very much like hospital types of systems underground. But my point is, I put these clues together one day because I had a friend who told me that she had went to Burning Man, which I still I connect it to that whole area of like Roswell, Area 51 kind of stuff. Even my son Dyer was asking me about Area 51 when he was like 5 years old. It's really interesting. And then everything is number right. So the 51 is connected to gene key 51. Festivals need to change to a pure frequency. Yeah, it's, I feel that, you know, I had my awakening at a festival, right? Like I took some psychedelics at the Envision Music Festival in Costa Rica in February 2019, and I danced my ass off like I never danced before. And I was speaking like language and all of the things. And I was having revelations. You know, I was having revelations that we came from the stars. That was for sure. I was breaking through all of my limitations of who I really was. I was having deep clarity about decisions that I needed to make in my life. And I was also understanding that we were not just these bodies. You know, we were not just these bodies, and that everything forms from the energy field. The way most festivals are is what caused me to choose to create my own event spaces instead. Exactly. Because you don't know what you're consenting to. So when you understand that the CIA, FBI, government are working with experimenting technologies, with these lights and sounds, and if you really think about it with your eyes wide open, you can see it. Like the stages look more and more demonic every year. I've seen some of them and I listen to some of the music, and I used to be able to tolerate it, but now it's like I've ascended into some perceptions of reality and some sound frequencies where like you hear this stuff and you hear the demonic growl in it. You hear the implant of it, if you know what I'm saying. You can also feel the life force and the sexual energy being activated which is not necessarily a bad thing if you know how to bring it all the way up. But a lot of times it's being drained, right? And then it's like almost like you were being danced through. It's like almost like you surrendered or sacrificed yourself or your body to something else. So this is just about being aware, right? And also about creating the alternative, because I do believe in that. I actually still believe in responsible use of psychedelics, and I believe in holding pure, clean, holy spaces where we only go up from here. So in my particular first experience, I was like, oh my God, we can move mountains in the energy field. I was drawing symbols. I was drawing quantum codes. I was working with mudras. I was singing holy songs. I was channeling data of the purest, holiest light. And I've been curious about that. Like it's quite a fascination for me. I'm very scorpionic. I'm very into the psyche. I'm very interested in studying the psychology of the mind of people, rewriting code, activating DNA. And so I have a curiosity about me when I hear about people that are working with like machine elves and kind of going into the mantis realms and kind of being visited by what could be perceived as like dark or demonic beings. Like I've never had an experience like that. So I'm like, all right, what is it that allows someone to go through a gate like that, right? And so for me, I believe it has to do with your connection to the astral plane. And so if you've got implants or connections with the lower astral, you're likely going to enter down into those fields. It has to do with who's holding the field. I just saw Samuel Lee. Like sometimes I don't want to say I'm 100% about all of his work, but he was talking about, in the medicine field. And I say this all the time. It's like whoever's holding that gateway open determines if you're going into the heavens or the hells. I'm always working with the sacred trinity of the Holy Mother, Holy Father, Holy Child. We're working with the sacred crystalline return. And so with that, a lot of times you have no idea what's really being passed around out there. And so I just say, like, if you are going to be working and exploring in the psychedelic field, be aware of who you're with, be aware of your intentions, be aware of anyone else's intentions, and yeah, be aware of who and where you get things from. So, yeah, what are we talking about here? We're talking about psychedelics, breaking through the mind constructs, rewriting DNA, returning to our celestial roots, eternal life codes, clean astral bodies, the purification of the lower astral body, right? Which means that you move from the lower nature desire where something can be operating through and act through you. Like the majority of people have an implant in their sacral. I can see it, I can feel it, I can smell it. As soon as I see someone, I can feel if they've got an implant in their sacral chakra. And usually what it might look like is they're just hungry for some sex, or they're hungry for being sexy, and they're looking for something in that dimension. And so when we start to move into the purification codes, we're moving it up, moving it up, moving it up. We're not leaking any energy down here, right? We've got that powerful life force energy that is more than just sexual energy, right? It's eternal life force. It's the mother's ecstasy. It's the land of milk and honey, all right? And she is open up here. It's the Christic, mystic, Sophia, mother, dragon, holy fields of fire, celestial fire, burn all desire, right? It never stops. It doesn't stop anywhere. There are no breaks on this flow. It's the Amrita, it's the immortal elixir. It's just that constant river. There are no dams. There is no containment. It is in a constant flow, in a constant flow, constantly giving, constantly living, never running out. It is eternal. So when we remember that, and I wrote a post earlier today as well, and it was about that mother energy that needs not be contained. When you are holding the wholeness field and the purity field, which is moved from here to here, right? Because the whole world is in the space of needing a sexual healing. Sexual healing does not come from playing in the dungeon with whips and chains and desires. Although there is quite a business out there for tantra temptations, right? So most beings are holding on to some kind of sexual trauma that's happened to them in their reality in their early childhood phase. And so they're not looking for sexual healing, they're looking for healing with the mother. And so this is the invitation of holding those holy mother fields, right? Rising up to the mother field of compassion, of love, of purity, of nurturing, of the mother's womb, of the mother's chest, of the mother's breast, of the coming home of the sun. You know, this is how I imagine it. And I want to go back, you know, I was talking a little bit last week about the idea of divine couples and sacred love. And it's really fun. I just met someone online. We were just on a call. She's in Florida right now. And I was talking to her about the idea of there being a preordained one for everyone. And she was telling me how, like, we were diving into the depths, and she was like, wow, I just can't even talk to anyone like how we're talking right now. And all of the men I meet are like just not here. And so I feel like a lot of us are, a lot of sisters and brothers might be like starving for the depth. Like it's so, we want depth, you know, we want to connect to the soul level, like zero superficial, zero artificial, zero questioning, like dive into the depths, dive into the depths. I feel the craving of that. And I told her, I was like, don't settle for anything less. Don't settle for anything less than the depth. Like our soul is craving that. And so the more we become it, right? The more we become it and we become whole within ourselves, the more we're going to manifest that externally. Let's see what my boy Marcus pulled up with the Hieros Gamos. The Hieros Gamos is the wedded garment of God, wearing the white robes of the One. Hieros Gamos refers to the risen Christos Sophia as the embodiment of the inner hierogamic union between the human being and the divine. Hieros Gamos is the full resurrection of the body to the eternal light of Christos, cosmic Christ consciousness. In the body's return to energetic balance, neutral, in the unity field or 0 point, the light body being is one with God, and the Christos body is glorified in its perfection as representative of God's eternal light image. In Hieros Gamos couplings, the genetic equal of the monad unites with its counterpart to embody the sacred marriage of Christic equals, to merge into one spiritual body, to hold the spirit of Christ. A Christic male and a Christic female unite in a Hieros Gamos or rod and staff union as the Christos Sophia, to be of service with the, will you move that page up a little, Marcus? That's why people have sex so deeply. I was reading Ali's comment, but it flew off. That's why people have sex so deeply. It's because they are looking for the conscious inside of us. Yeah, it's a hunger, right? And there is a one out there. And I would say, don't settle for anything less. You don't have to force this. You don't have to make this happen. I'm telling you, I didn't know anything about this, and I wasn't running around looking for it. In fact, I was happily married for 14 years when I was coming into contact, bride and groom style. I didn't know the terminology of what this is saying here, but when I first came into the context of the Christos Sophia and the Hieros Gamos union, I was like, holy shit, I came for this. I'm living this. I didn't read it first and try to make it happen. It unfolded out of me and my partner, Eduardo. And so this was just affirming what we came here for. And I know we're not the only ones. And so, you know, when we rewrite the code that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute, right, versus the Holy One that was assisting the masculine and rising his energy into pure devotion and service, to hold that field of devotion, of service, of the two becoming the one, that's what we came here to do. And so we don't settle for anything else. There's zero prostitution in the field. We prepare ourselves and we come into divine union within the self so that we are prepared for the one, the other of us, to come into the physical form and to love it, love it, love it. It's so beyond shadow work. You do the shadow work within yourself and prepare yourself so that this union can take place with a trust that there's someone on the other side that's doing theirs as well. And so we're rising each other up. A beautiful book to read that always comes to mind that I like to recommend is called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. All right, let's finish reading some of this Hieros Gamos. Excuse me. A Christic male and a Christic female unite in a Hieros Gamos or rod and staff union as the Christos Sophia to be of service within God's eternal light, divine plan, to correct the Sophionic body and to restore liberation of ascension upon the earth. Hieros Gamos is the embodiment of the new cosmic ray frequencies of Mother Arc, aquamarine, and Father Arc, emerald green hues, and their DNA lens being introduced to this universe. These frequency colors represent the Aurora body, guardian consciousness of the united Christic forms embodied in the future sovereignty timeline of the GSF. That means God Sovereign Free. Interdimensional resonator plus bass tone, overtone, and resonant tone amplifier. It's interesting because each of these overtone, resonant tone, these are also tones in the Galactic Maya. Okay, gender principle in creation. In ascension context, the synthesizing of the pairs of energetic opposite into unity is also referred to as polarity integration, energetic synthesis, or spiritual marriage. This also has the exact same meaning when applied to gender unification, which is the energetic balance between the masculine principle and feminine principle. To biologically evolve spiritually, the energetic balance between the masculine and feminine energies within the self must be unified, right? So we're unifying within the self, the masculine and the feminine. First and foremost, we come into wholeness so that the one that is designed for us is also in the wholeness, and then we unite together, and that is the reunion. The apex of that perfect unification is Hieros Gamos. The planet has reached that axis in time where the gender principle of creation in this world will be tested for energetic integrity on every level it exists. Essentially, this is a planetary body Merkaba shift between the counter-rotating spirals of the masculine and feminine energies. What this means is that everything having to do with masculine and feminine principles of energy on this planet are undergoing some kind of transformation at the blueprint level, which adjust gender principle. And actually, my call last Wednesday, so 1 week ago, I talked a bit about this, and I brought in gate 37, which is the real pole flip. Gene key 37 is the true pole flip, and it's actually talking about the rising of the feminine coming through the male, because that is where the deficit is at. And so the rising of the feminine coming through the man's body. And obviously we're here to clear all of our toxic distortions of masculine and feminine within the self. Sometimes there's descriptions and these ideas of like, oh, the masculine is this and the feminine is that. But ultimately, I like to say cancel, clear, delete all of the past, previous programming, coding, and distortions. And then like surrender into building it back up without force. It's an effortless thing. Hold on, I'm gonna cough for a minute. I don't want to cough in the thing. I've had this little chest thing going on. Okay, now we're going into the term Hieros Gamos is used generally to refer to the sacred marriage between two divinities, or between human being and Mother, Father, God, or between two human beings under certain special conditions, the ultimate alchemy of forces which harmonize polar opposites. And you know, for me, it was like, as my partner and I came together. First I shared a little bit about the story of me and Eduardo meeting for the first time on the last call. And like that call into a new type of partnership that I'd never known or could have imagined. And it's nothing short of two stars making love in the heavens. It's God making love to God. It is you making love to the other that's actually you. It's so deep. It's so universal. It's like you can't even draw a picture of it. It's like the explosion of stars. It's like, you know, the flow of a gushing river or a waterfall. This Shiva Shakti, this Magdalene Christ, this like two becoming one, this fire and this water. Yeah, I mean, you can read about it, but it's different when you're actually living it. And I'm glad like we were called to experience and live it first. And then eventually, like when I would read books that would land in my lap or just kind of flip through stuff, I was like, oh my God, we're holding this field. And it's an honor to know it. It's an honor to experience it. And I live to tell as a guardian, as an embodiment of this information here. Like, I'm not running around telling you about twin flames and I don't have one, right? I'm here to say, rise it up, raise it up, come into wholeness. We don't use our Shakti, we don't use our sexual energy to entice, to tempt. We are in full wholeness. We're not leaking any energy. We're not hungry. We're not vampires. We're not parasites. We are fully in wholeness, embodied, right? We've come into the masculine and feminine within ourselves. We are preparing ourselves for the path of devotion because we're not prostitutes. And this is the rise of the energy, and this is the healing of the idea that there was ever a prostitute, that Mary Magdalene was ever a prostitute. That's always been a lie. That has always been the thing that's kept us from remembering this pure, holy fucking love that was almost lost on this planet. And that's why I say you never settle. And I just want to celebrate the many men that have come into my field that are fasting, that are holding their seed, that have purified themselves, that are leaving behind pornography. Like, they are purifying. Sometimes I feel like the men are doing more, like they're doing more determined work in this area than the women sometimes. But anyways, the point is coming into that cleanliness, coming into that purity, preparing your temple so that you can be honored like the Christos Sophia that you are. So the Christos and Sophia can come into the bridal chamber and make love and manifest the Shekinah. Right? And that type of energy leads to a permanent ecstasy. It's a permanent orgasm. It's not an orgasm that you just have sometimes. It's a permanent state of orgasmic energy that you forgot could be yours, that you forgot could exist. You'll never need to chase it again. You're not running around looking for it. You're not begging for it. You're not a piece of meat. You're not running around looking for a piece of meat. You're the holy dove. You're the holy mother. You're the holy father. You shine bright like a diamond. Mary had a little lamb. Her fleece was white as snow. There's a level of purity. This is a time of great purification. This is a call to all men and women to rise. We want as many couples to be holding this sanctity field. I only have eyes for my one. There are no gates open for any temptations, for any falls. You know, that is like sure wholeness, heroes, gamos. We're not just trying to fit. I was telling someone the example of, I keep always bringing up like the Cinderella. You know, in the movie of Cinderella archetypes, it's like there's this wicked stepsister and she's trying to like fit her foot in the glass slipper. She's trying to like make it fit, but it's not there. I've seen that in relationships. You know, I've seen two people come together and the woman is like, you're my divine partner, you're my divine, and like putting this label. And this dude's probably never even heard of that. And he's just like, okay, I got a crazy one. You know, it's like, no, you can't force this. There's a naturalness, there's a design to it. You've both been preparing for it. You've both been devoted to it. You've both been unifying and purifying to prepare yourself for such an orgasmic unification, reuniting, a celebration. It's like, imagine that on your last life's incarnation that you were already with your soul partner and that you died making love and you were like, I'll see you on the other side in the perfect moment or time. I only have eyes for you. And then the reuniting of that love coming back together. It is a river flowing, an orgasmic river flowing. When you come into contact with the one again, it is mathematical by design. And that's why we're called to the path of purification and patience. And we do not have to force this. We do not have to prostitute this. We only know that it's so, and we do the work to prepare ourselves for this reunification again. So, spiritual marriage in no time. The crystal star template, of which was previously referred to as spiritual marriage in no time, has returned to the Earth Logos in 2012 through the alchemical restoration of the Heroes Gamos, connected through the Unity Logos, a guardian project to rebirth the planetary logos. Heroes Gamos, or Hiragami, is the sacred marriage of a human being with divinity, the inner spirit, and the unification between all life expressions and its levels of opposite. From the guardian perspective, spiritual ascension comprises the science of the spirit, encompassing the entire creational mechanics of how spirit and matter travel throughout time and space. At certain levels of frequency, conjunction within the spiral of time, access is possible to new DNA templates and therefore embodiments. The planet has reached that access in time. Heroes Gamos is the sacrament that represents sacred marriage at the individual level, to the relationship level, to the group level. Will you scroll that one up, Marcus? So see, it starts within first. We have to come into the inner marriage, which will certainly manifest as the outer marriage in the right perfect moment in time, right? So we go from the individual level to the relationship level to the group level as a part of the spiritual ascension, moving through the spiraling staircase of time to experience unification with or marry all aspects of God. When we marry God through this sacrament, Christos Sophia returns in our sacred crystal heart. I want to show you my sacred crystal heart in the pyramid. Here's the sacred crystal heart. I got this from my friend Taisia. She gave it to me for my birthday one year. She's from Mauritius Island. So anyways, here's some of our copper technology, but we got that sacred crystal heart codes. Yeah, I hope you all are feeling what we're calling in here in the fires of purification and patience of preparing ourselves for this next level of the mission and that inner marriage that we're being called into. Oof, look at those colors. The white diamond sun shield, sacred crystal heart. All right, let's talk about it. Oh, and I want to say something. This marriage has nothing to do with wedding vows and contracts. I have never needed any of that. There is zero insecurity here, right? There is zero insecurity here. So there's no need to go to a government or go to some kind of official documentation or to do any black magic signatures or contracts for this marriage. It is devotion in devotion. You know, this is God returning to God. This is two becoming one. There's no written contracts that need to be documented to secure this type of true love. And I see the power of black magic when we're signing contracts in courts and agreements, like we need somebody to authorize our love or to try to keep someone caught up or stuck in an agreement. No, this is so beyond that. Okay, so during this time, sacred crystal heart, white diamond sun shield. This is all from the Ascension Glossary. Thank you, Lisa Renee. Thank you, Ashiana Dean. Thank you, Ascension Glossary. Thank you, Energetic Synthesis. Thank you, Guardian Alliance Teachings. During this time, it is of critical importance to explore and understand the workings of our sacred crystal heart, our pure heart, which holds the feelings and language that communicates directly with the God source and gives us the gift of experiencing unconditional love and peace. When we recognize an energy signature around us and we can deeply feel and sense something with greater awareness, this is the sacred heart resonance at work. Sensing and feeling energies are the higher functions of the heart complex and the way that the heart as an organ of perception should be functioning within all people. Thus, the most important organ system and spiritual light body component for every person on the earth is their sacred crystal heart complex, which functions to receive and transmit the omnidirectional forces of love, and through which the inner wisdom of cellular knowing arises. All of us have an inner compass that is our spiritual guidance system that is based in the forces of love flowing from within our heart complex. Our sacred crystal heart will lead us to safety and will make the best choice for us at any given time, if we can quiet the mind and indeed listen to it. The crisis humanity is facing is the crisis of consciousness that is generated from a lack of love and from closed down hearts, as well as a lack of self-awareness to know what deeply motivates our behaviors. So that's something important that we're being called into, our own self-awareness that motivates our behaviors, right? So when we are confident and purified in ourselves within our own mother and father, we're not seeking the attention from the outer realms. We're not seducing, we're not confusing, we're not tempting. Through the opening of our sacred crystal heart, we also gain increased knowledge of health through sustainable energetic balance, which serves as the healing force we transmit to become the true agents of spiritual healing in this world. The forces of love are one with the eternal God spirit that resides within our sacred crystal heart and are without exception the strongest healing and harmonizing forces available on this planet. By finding the true love that exists from within the self, the crystal heart complex is activated from within the light body, which is further designed to attract and embody the highest qualities of soul spiritual intelligence. You know, I can feel that insecurity in the field. We should be able to come into the fields of each other, male or female, with such a wholeness within ourselves. We understand there is zero threat, there is zero need to entice, and there is zero competition. That is an unfortunate sense that I've gotten when I walk into the field of the spiritual community, sometimes a superficial nature, especially of the feminine. See, when we all remember the purity that we are and the power that we are, we can come together in equal balance in council. There is no higher or lower, there is no superior, and there is no inferior. It is equality with the masculine and the feminine, inner and outer. Everything is in balance. It's our job to do that within the self first so that we can see it manifest when we come into the space of one another. The forces of love, did I read this one already? The forces of love are one with the eternal God spirit that resides within our sacred crystal heart and are without exception the strongest healing and harmonizing forces available on this planet. Okay, I read that. The earth body functions as a sacred crystal heart complex for the entire solar system. And thus it is more important than ever. Let me just catch up. Than ever for humanity to consciously work to open their hearts in order to elevate the entire planet. Like, yes, please. That's how you want to be a planetary service. We need to open our hearts to elevate the entire planet, which even raises, this is how we wake up every day and we say, how may I be of service? That is how you start to do it. How may I be of service to the planet? How may I be of service to all of humanity? That becomes the higher mission and the higher goal. And then from that selflessness, from that law of one, it will naturally have a self-organizing intelligence and kind of a radiating indicator that it's time to activate the sacred crystal heart technology as within, so without, which even raises the consciousness in the worlds that exist beyond. During the ascension cycle, as humanity raises and expands collective race consciousness, the impacts ripple out to influence the neighboring worlds and other species. To open the crystal heart means to devote oneself to learn how to be love, loving ourselves, loving others, loving the earth and her creatures. The soul groups that incarnate on the earth receive the planetary DNA imprint that holds unique heart configurations in their individual light body that are based upon the diamond sun template and contain the cosmic Christos heart principle. The physical DNA, which has been modified through alien hybridization in the lower dimensions, you could say lower astral, through direct physical genetic manipulation, can be corrected. See, this is also where we purify the lower astral body and we remove all implants of the negative alien agenda. The heart complex, and this is also about the rapture, which is purification of the lower astral body and the unlocking of the 7 seals, the 7 sacred seals, which is where the gene keys comes in. Gene key 22, 7 sacred seals, 144,000. If you've ever been called to do some work with me, I'd love to just reach out to me and we can kind of unlock the codes of the heart, of the emotions, of the templates, you know, the original blueprints, breaking out of the Chiron wound to ascend. It's all just code. It's all in the no time and the no space. Doesn't matter if you're calculating 12 months or 13 months. We're here to unlock the 7 sacred seals, purify the mind, body, and soul, integrate and embody the Buddhic body, the Atmic body, the Christos body down in the physical form, bringing the monad down into the form, full embodiment. In this ascension, we're not going anywhere. We're bringing the heavens down to the earth. So we're doing the purification to make room for the heavens to come down fully into this body, onto this earth plane, activating that multidimensional consciousness on the planet. The tipping point is the many who have laid down their lower nature, purified their lower nature in order to embody the cosmic heaven codes, the sacred crystal heart codes. The heart complex can connect with the higher spiritual intelligence and override these distortions by spiritualizing the emotional body into a soul. This is true for all reptilian and mammalian DNA, even when they represent diametrically opposing principles. This potential remains dormant until the individual makes a choice to evolve towards being more awake and more loving, seeking a meaningful relationship with all that is. The cosmic Christos heart principle is gender-based and generates the inner and outer heart flame twinning, a male and female heart complex that unites in order to merge into oneness. This can be achieved through the biological, spiritual ascension process on the earth, which naturally evolves into inner heart flame twinning between the gender principles, circulating and generating forces of omnidirectional love through hierogamic union. During spiritual initiations that are occurring more rapidly during the shift, the most critical aspect of awakening is to learn how to open the crystal heart and to get comfortable with a widening range of emotional spectrums. Let's see, where did that go? Emotional spectrums. By resolving emotional conflicts, right? So this is a part of activating and opening the crystal heart, being comfortable and widening the range of emotional spectrums by resolving emotional conflicts. When we open our crystal heart, we begin to work with spiritual powers, which are sentient, living forces in themselves, such as the heart-based qualities of feeling and expressing compassion, empathy, forgiveness, and generosity towards others. Now, these are all gene keys. Compassion is the number 36. Empathy is the number 13. Forgiveness is the number 4. These are gene keys as well. Compassion, empathy, forgiveness. So you can like dive deeper into those codes within the gene keys. You could also look at your chart and see, oh, do I have the 36? Do I have the 13? Do I have the 4? The 4 is the 5th sacred seal, by the way, and it's connected to the Buddhic body. So that's when we start to get into rainbow light body activations. All right, and we'll just finish these last couple sentences up, and then we'll talk maybe a little more about the emotions, because this is always an important key to everything. 8D gold ray. Transcript, the 8th dimension is a gold color, but when the monad starts flowering in the diamond heart and the heart complex starts to reconfigure into the thymus gland area, that's gate 26, by the way, gene key 26. This ignites the inner Holy Spirit and actually looks blue. And they call this the living crystal lotus heart. I call this galactivation. Oh, that's one of my favorite words, galactivation. That's what I say we're doing when we unlock your gene keys. It's a galactivation. We unlock your galactic Maya and we unlock your gene keys profile. If you ever want to do something like that, just hit me up. Send me a private message in Facebook. Phinix Returns. Phinix. The MRAF flame. Okay, liquid crystal cells. The crystal core activation is a planetary initiation that ignites an individual's spiritual body into a catalytic process that activates the liquid crystal cells, both in the mitochondrial Christi, and within the diamond crystal heart, which contains the permanent seed atom. So let's just bring this all together. You know, it's all about emotional intelligence. It is all about emotional intelligence. Control the controllables. Like in my old business that I was building, that was one of the guidelines, you know, control the controllables. What can you control? Well, emotional intelligence is one of the keys to you coming into the awareness of working with your own energy, right? And so when we start to realize that everything is energy and nothing is permanent and there is no time, so we get to choose how long we hold on to something, how deeply, how heavily, how long we put something into the concrete form versus moving back into the fluid stream, right? On one of my first videos, I talked a little bit about the map of consciousness by David Hawkins. And I really love that rainbow flow because it's like, it kind of shows you frequency values of certain emotions, and they're kind of color coded as well. And when you really think about it, it's like everything is a choice. Everything is how you look at it. Everything is about perception. There's a menu. At any given moment, you always have a choice on the menu. You know, you get to choose if you go into the restaurant, if you're going to choose that heavy platter that's going to make you feel pretty heavy, down, slow, sluggish, tired, you know, sick, whatever the feeling is. You get to choose if you want to eat something that's going to bring you into the crystalline pure dimensions. It's all choice. Emotions are the same way, right? So we come into full responsibility for mind, body, soul, the mind, body, soul complex. And so, yeah, it's very empowering when you look at it from this perspective and you understand at any given moment, you can shift. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to say, like, for example, if River comes to me, she's 5 years old, right? If she comes to me and she's crying and she's upset, I tell her, I was like, I will give her a hug. I will rub on her back. I will tell her I love her. And I will make sure that she knows she can cry as long as she wants. And also, she has other options. If she so chooses, we could do this, we could do that. You know, we could let go of this, we could focus on something else. It's up to her. But I'm starting to show her and empower her into understanding the choices that she has. And she gets to choose. And so do you. You get to choose if you're in the guilt, shame, judgment dimension. That's your choice, right? You get to choose. And that's why I always say, if you can get to just, I like those green. I don't really think in that lower spectrum. I'm just going to tell you, like, there's no red in my life. Even the orange and like the yellow, I think more in the crystalline colors and dimensions. It's a little more pastel-y. But, you know, like I like to say, if you can just get to neutrality, right? If you can see that the map of consciousness is what we're looking at here, David Hawkins, and let's just look at the colors and let's just go to that first. If you're coming from the bottom up, you're looking in that green and you see neutrality and you're at that 250, right? And so like, if you can just get to neutrality, which is basically 0 point, if you can get there, you can collapse all fields, right? And so neutrality, the emotion is trust, right? And basically at that level, this is the practice, right? You could go guardrail to guardrail. You could be in enlightenment and all of a sudden bounce down to shame. Yeah, Aurora, it's not the same. Nothing. It's the same. Yeah, I've been like that my whole life, actually. I've never, you know, even the idea of seeing red. And just to be really honest, I'm going to be honest about this. I understand there's a whole lot going on with these infrared technologies. That has never felt right for me. I don't have any attraction and I'm not impressed with any of that. Listen, you go where you're called, you do what you want. There's a lot of, just like we were talking about earlier with music festivals, and a lot going on with light and sound and psychedelics and like programming and experimenting. Do what you want. In the Matrix, you know, they show you like the woman in the red dress kind of thing. It's like bleep. Yeah, it's a spectrum I moved out of. And sometimes I'll go into like, oh, I've got to embody all the colors. But when you think about the idea of moving up an octave, like, so you go through the rainbow colors and then you go through the prism. And actually, I've been reading again through the book, The Prism of Lyra. It's like you go more into the crystalline dimension. And then from that portal, it's like you move into more of those aquas, right? Some of those aqua and magenta rays. You can see it in the spectrum of colors and a lot of the art on the Ascension Glossary, which like always feels orgasmic and angelic to me when I see those colors. I feel something when I look at, like, let's just say I'm at a stage at a music festival, right? And it's like all red and black. Like actually red and black for me defines something. I've tried to clear that within myself. I'm like, oh, maybe it's just my judgment, or maybe, and I got to heal my color spectrum with these colors. No, it's a menu. You get to choose. And there's nothing good or bad or right or wrong. Like we have attractions because we're working in certain fields. We're working with certain chakras, like whatever you want to call it. It's all perfect. It's zero judgment about it. But now we're getting back to frequency and emotion, right? And I'm just saying that you get to pick. And if you can just get to neutrality, you're going to be moving into the heart plane. You're going to be moving into the causal plane with ease and grace. Now, the interesting thing is if you look a little below, anger, desire, fear, shame, guilt, like a lot of these are connected to the wounds of the 7 sacred seals. Like, for example, each of us came with a certain wound that we came here to heal for all of humanity as part of the sacred seals. And so the wounds are guilt, shame, denial, rejection, separation. So each one of us, that's one of the first things I like to do when I decode a chart, a gene keys chart, is look for what is the core wound that you came here to carry. And actually in the 22, let's see. I'm just kind of opening up the 22. Yeah, let's read about this. This is actually Richard Rudd talking about the Venus sequence, which is one of the study paths. It's the pathway of opening the heart. It's about healing your relationships. And so if you are in a relationship and you're looking to like open your heart in your relationship, and you have a willing partner, because just in case you haven't realized it, you can't force someone to be devoted to that path. And in fact, just to be really honest, if you don't have a partner that's willing to be on that path with you, where you're both willing to like equally own your shit, like that is massive accountability that you got to do. Like sometimes I see the woman's like, oh, my man's got to fix all his shit. And the man's like, the woman's got to fix all her shit. But like, no, you're both coming together in equal balance. And you're like, oh, I got my shit. You got your shit. I'll own mine. You own yours. We'll come together. We'll have fun holding each other accountable to it. We'll do the work. A lot of it is inner reflection work that the other one may never know. It starts with you diffusing your own bombs within yourself, right? And not projecting and not rejecting and not reacting. You know, being able to, diffuse the bomb. That's what I used to call it. I used to get that fire just like ready to bounce up, and I'd be like, oh shit. And I would just unleash the beast. And then I got into a practice of like, oh, let me tame this. Let me breathe through this. Let me hold this. I don't need to lash this out, you know? And like, wow, to do that inner work. Okay, so massive accountability is the initiations of initiations, right? And see, that means two people in agreement. Like, you can't make somebody do this, right? It's like, we're not running around telling the other one what's so fucked up about them. They're doing that work, I'm doing my work. This is the Venus sequence. So actually, Richard Rudd would say, if you're in a relationship that's on the rocks, he would say that if there's a chance, you know, before you just write it all off, sometimes you just know. Like, some people are just trying to hold something together that is already done. Like, it's okay. It's okay to move through a transition in relationship. But Richard Rudd would say, like, you know, before you end it, if two people are willing to come together and do the Venus sequence together, like, let that be the determining factor. And so sometimes I've worked with people in the psychedelic field with some heart-opening medicines that I love to work with. And I'll tell people, I'm not here to preserve your relationship. Sometimes you don't need to preserve your relationship. Like, sometimes it's time to move on, and that's totally okay. But let's work in the field and let's see what's happening here, you know? And then it all just comes together. And sometimes it's the peaceful transition and the ending of something. And then, you know, with one woman I was working with, it was like, as soon as she worked in the medicine field, and in her particular situation, she thought, like, it's time for me to leave. I'm sick and tired. I'm over it. Like, all of the things that he wasn't doing, blah, blah, blah. And then we work in the medicine field, it drops in. And the next thing you know, she's like, oh my God. She saw it all for herself. I'm just sitting there, you know? And she's just like, oh my God, I'm not opening my heart. I'm rejecting him. I'm pushing him away. He's trying to love me and I can't even receive him. Like, I can't even open my heart. Like, I've got barbed wire around my heart. Like, she could see it all. She saw it all for herself. See, you are your own healer. That's how we actually do really work in the medicine and the shamanic fields. If we're going to work with these medicines at all, it was like, she could see it. And it was so beautiful. And so in her particular situation, she went from thinking it was time to go to a deeper strength and a reuniting. And the next thing you know, like, I'm working with her for 2 days and she was like, I want to bring my husband to come and stay with you for a couple of days so you can work with him. And I was like, it would be my honor. Oh, I love working in these fields. It is truly my honor. I'm not even saying we have to have medicines, but sometimes we're so, like, freaking determined in our mind, like, we know, and it's just so constructed in there. And our hearts are just so, like, you don't even know that you're carrying the wound. You don't even know that you're carrying, like, that barbed wire fence around the heart. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, sometimes you just need to, like, break through that. And then you can see all the things you couldn't see because you were in denial and you were, like, justifying all of these emotions. And anyways, so it's not always about preserving the relationship. Sometimes you just know it's time to go, but might as well, if you're willing and you've got someone that's willing to go in and do that work. Otherwise, you're just preparing yourself. If you're single, it's like, prepare thyself for the other and trust that there is someone out there doing that same work. And that when the two come together, it will be like two stars making love in the heavens. We're not here to just fuck around and find out. And more than likely, like, you know, from the minute you meet someone anyways, especially if they're not clean, like, I don't know, I have a big clear fucking standard that I wouldn't be wanting anyone to enter my holy gates that's watching pornography or jacking off to some kind of sexual fantasy type of shit. No way. I have standards. And so, I mean, I don't even have to think about that stuff. But I'm just like, I'm sharing that with any of the goddesses out there, that we're, like, rising up, setting the standard, holding the field high. We're not compromising, right? We've got pure holy gates. We're not prostitutes. We're carrying that Magdalene frequencies. All right, so rising to the occasion. So I'm going to read about this Venus sequence, a direct transmission of graciousness. So he's just talking about, this is about your core wounds. And each one of us came with a core wound. So I'm just going to read about it. This is from Richard Rudd, page 169, Gene Key 22. In the summer of 2004, that's 22 years ago, during a rare transit of the planet Venus across the front of the sun, a profound knowledge came into the world called the Venus sequence. It uses the 64 gene keys in combination with astrological data to pinpoint the exact patterns of karma that an individual takes on during each incarnation. The Venus sequence reveals karma as a genetic sequence that unfolds throughout your life. Your ability to accept this karma with graciousness determines how quickly and easily you transcend your own suffering. So your ability to accept your karma with grace determines how quickly you transcend your own suffering. Furthermore, as the sequence of your own karma unfolds and is transmuted, it reveals the higher frequencies that allow you to expand your consciousness and attain the higher state. The Venus sequence is the great science of human suffering, showing us precisely how every human being shares in world karma, or the sacred wound, through being genetically imprinted with it at the point of our conception. This has to do with your vocation sphere. So it has to do with you being in the womb of your mother. It has to do with the Mars placement 88 days before you're actually born. As we unravel our Venus sequence, we discover an inner path of awakening behind our suffering. This culminates in our having to embrace one of the 6 essential core human wounds. So you have a particular wound in your core, which is your vocation sphere, but then you might also have other sacred seals connected to core wounds as well. But here are the 6 core wounds of humanity. Repression, the wound of repression, the wound of denial, the wound of shame, the wound of rejection, the wound of guilt, and the wound of separation. And I remember when I was reading this, I was like, what's my wound? What's my wound? You know, and I was like trying to figure out which one was the wound that I came here to heal for myself and all of humanity. And mine is line 4, the wound of rejection. And I was like, wow, that's like the least of the wounds that I think I would have of all these wounds here. The wound of rejection, because I've never really been concerned about what other people think of me. Yeah, like it was just, and then I started, this is connected to Gene Key 43, which is also my pearl. So I have it kind of in 2 coinciding spaces here. It's the shadow of deafness to epiphany and insight. And I did start to realize like, oh, I mean, there are certain like galactic downloads, intelligence, understandings that I'm like, okay, maybe this shit's a little far out there. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this shit. What are people going to think about it? You know, that was one place where I had to heal my wound, where I no longer censor myself and I just say whatever the fuck comes out. This is my transmission. Not here to sell anything, not here to talk anybody into anything, not here to convince anybody, just my direct transmission of my own insights, you know? And then the other part was like when on my last call, I was sharing with you the story of me meeting Eduardo and like coming into that fire, coming into that awakening, coming into that invitation of the Kundalini, of the love, of whatever was being called there. And it was in that moment in time where I was like trying to make that go away. I was like, no, get rid of this, go, clean this desire, chop. You know, I was rejecting myself. My body was telling me something. My energy, my heart, my sacred heart was telling me something. But my mind was going, nope. So I was rejecting myself. And then eventually I had to go through the process of the fear of the rejection of the other. When I was being called to make this choice to go through this leap and this transition in my relationship, in my marriage, in my family. And like, I had to move through that wound of rejection and what I knew it would look like to the other, and how it would feel for me to be able to move through, like trusting myself no matter what, over what I knew would be coming out in the field, and how my friends and how my family might think of me, and like really just trusting myself is a big one. So anyways, we all have a different wound. That's my personal direct experience with me healing my wound of rejection. And then it says these 6 patterns, these wounds, are laid down in a unique sequence in your DNA. Once you have access to your own sequence, you will finally understand the basic script of your life process, particularly as regards your relationships, where your karma is mostly played out. The wound itself is directly tied to your lower 3 bodies, the physical, emotional, and mental. Through clear mental understanding and a gentle emotional process of self-forgiveness, the very patterns that cause human beings so much pain actually lead us directly to liberation through the higher 3 bodies. And we're in Gene Key 39 right now, which is the liberation code. We can actually pull that up. That's probably what I'll close this out with. If anyone has any questions or anything that you want to talk about, you can type it into the chat if you're here with us live. But I'm going to read these last few sentences, and then we'll just kind of close it out with bringing your awareness to gate number 39, which I called the serious liberation. It's a programming partner of the 38, the warrior of light. So I always say the warrior of light unlocks serious liberation. So we're talking about the liberation of through the higher 3 bodies. So it's those higher 3 bodies coming down through a purified vessel that brings that liberation. Because this is both a process of evolution, described in depth in the 55th gene key, and a process of involution, whereby the higher frequencies within your DNA are being activated through the agency of grace. However, the prime teaching of the Venus sequence concerns showing another human being through relationship, here it is, how to take responsibility for their own feelings instead of projecting them onto others. That's what we're talking about with that radical responsibility. We're showing another human being through our relationship how to take responsibility for your own feelings instead of projecting them onto others. This ability is the very essence of the 22nd gift of graciousness and is preparing humanity to make the great leap into freedom, the 55th gift, right? We were talking about the 55th on the last call. And so in the gene keys right now, we're in gene key 39, the serious liberation, SIRIUS. And so let's check it out. It's from the shadow. It's called the tension of transcendence. And so that transcendence can feel provocative. It can feel a little uncomfortable. It is a very provoking key. The gift of dynamism, and it's the city of liberation. So the 39th gift is all about unlocking freedom at all levels. These people are either utterly locked or they're the great unlockers and unblockers. Once they've learned the art, they become expert at helping others. They can apply this gift into any field we can imagine, because ultimately they know how to release stagnant energy through a system, releasing stagnant energy. They're very valuable people. All right, so this is a Cancer code. This is a provoking code. Renee, what's your take on this whole CERN shutdown? Apologies if you've already addressed this in another post. Oh, it's so good to see you, my Corpus Christi brother, rainbow body. Okay, CERN. First of all, in Gematria, by the way, CERN is a numerical code value number 40. I'm always decoding everything in simple Gematria, you know, letters A through Z are 1 through 26, and then I do a little mathematical calculation. So CERN is number 40. It is the final seal, sacred seal number 1, Archangel Michael, and it's the city of divine will. So it's very interesting. Right before we got on this call, I was talking with Marcus, who's in the background, who helps my star brother, who helps me set all this up. We were talking about, like, we were both kind of feeling like shit's really flying right now. I mean, I always feel like it's flying. There is zero gravity in the field, but it does feel like a gate opened up, you know? And I want to take you back to the first time I'd ever even come into the awareness of CERN. I'd never heard of it, which, by the way, has to do with nuclear reactors. Like, that's what it's about. Eastern, like European nuclear, like reactor, nuclear, whatever the fuck. Okay. The first time I ever heard of CERN, it was, well, let's go back to something important. Maybe you all remember when the Georgia Guidestones exploded, right? There was something about Georgia Guidestones. They exploded. I'd never heard of it before. But of course, like, it caught my attention right away. It was a timeline. It was a timeline that many of us were called into. It was a planetary timeline. And so that was the first time, like, I went into Georgia. I went to the latitude. I started reading this information. I started looking at the Georgia Guidestones. It was very interesting. The information they had, like, written in many languages, carved on many granite stones, the story of who built it and why it was there, like, all of it was super questionable. And yeah, at the time, I was staying at my friend's house in a place called Hermosa Paradise, which is like beautiful paradise, Hermosa in Spanish, paradise. And we were by this beach that was like so magnetic. Like, we would go there and we would set up a grid on the sand. And when I would go and pick up my crystals, I had certain magnetic crystals, and they would just be covered, kind of like a magnetic etch-a-sketch, you know, type of energy. I've always said, if people come to visit me in Costa Rica, it would be fun to do like a magnetic body upgrade. It's almost like an organic earth MRI, magnetic resonance, you know? It's like dig a little hole and like get our bodies immersed in the sand with the sun and like allow this magnetics, because we have so much magnetite in our body. We have crystals and magnetite in our brains. We have liquid crystals in our body. There's a lot of magnetism and, you know, iron that's working through the body. Yeah, magnets are powerful and important on all levels, especially naturally occurring in nature. Not to exclude the power of salt water as a cleaning and purifying natural supplement. But anyways, so the Georgia Guidestones exploded. And then the next thing you know, I turned on the TV at the house I was staying at. I haven't had TV in like 8 years, but at this house I was at, there was a television, and I turned it on, and like there was this episode. It said state of emergency, and it was showing Godzilla and like King Kong, and they were like kind of taking over. It was very reptilian. Like, everything is holographic information, right? So it was like these reptilian monsters in the Empire state of emergency, whatever. And so that's like the first time that happened. The next thing you know, I hear about CERN, all in that same timeline. So I've always connected CERN and the Georgia Guidestones for some reason, and state of emergency. And then, of course, all of the information came out about what looks like satanic ceremonies. And then the Stranger Things came out. And my daughter, actually at that same house, hold on one second, I have to cough again. My daughter, Presley, she was visiting me from the States. And she was quite young then. It was very interesting, the information that she brought to me when she was with me on that trip. She brought me to NASA and landing on the moon, and we were looking up all of these coins that said Apollo and like decoding the dates. And she also had me watching Stranger Things. And so when I watched Stranger Things, And like, she was way too young to be watching Stranger Things. There's some fucked up shit in there. But that's connected to Project Montauk and like all of these experimental projects that have been going on forever. And most people have no idea this world even exists. CIA, FBI, like all of these institutions, governments, psychedelic experiments, light, sound, electromagnetic frequency, military experiments, the whole thing. But I remember watching that, and it was like literally showing the concept of a man like going from one world to another world, or one location to another location. You could almost say it was like teleporting, right? You could say it was like portal jumping. Yeah, like all of that was coming into my awareness at the same time. So I'm not here to say anything is good or bad or right or wrong. I'm saying it's some pretty interesting shit. It feels like a dark control center that's been used for timeline manipulation. You know, Jose Arguelles, who was the one that came out with this dream spell information, it was really interesting because he was talking about the anticipation of the end of this cycle in December 2012. Some people were talking about it as like the end of the world kind of thing. Even Terence McKenna, if anybody knows him, who was definitely like psychonaut, whatever, he created something called Time Wave Zero. Oh, it's so fun. I love Terence McKenna. He's November 16th and I'm November 18th. Like, we come in that same Palladian window. I feel I have a lot of similar interests to him in the psychedelic and the psycho and the mind, you know, and the psyche, and like and he was bringing in this thing called Time Wave Zero. He didn't even know about the Mayan calendars. He didn't even know about the end of the cycle, December 2012, but somehow within the computer calculations that he had configured, they had showed and basically derived a similar outcome to the idea of December 21st, 2012, which on my last video, I was talking about how whether you remember it or not, we all went through a big shift in December 2012. If you go back and you look at it, like that was my final month working for Dell Corporation in Austin. And it was like I was starting a whole new dream in 2013. And so anyways, yeah, check out these guide stones, right? Oh, let's see what it says here. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Unite humanity with a living new language. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. I mean, right? Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. Now, it's interesting. I know a lot of people have said this shit's threatening, but actually, like, and they're like, oh, this is a depopulation event. You know, like, but imagine that we are time travelers, and imagine that we put things in, you know, that we write things in stone to help us remember. And maybe we've all now come into contact with the consideration of something called NPCs, non-player characters. I mean, it's a hell of a concept, right? But like, and the idea of cloning, right? And the idea of the lunar matrix and this mass population, this overpopulation. Like, everyone's always talking about, oh, they're gonna exterminate us. They're gonna, they're depopulating. It's like, actually, there was an inflation of population. Like, how many masses have been born under this lunar matrix that were born for sacrifice, that were born into families of early childhood sexual trauma? You know, like, who has actually been born out of love? Actually, these are like serious questions to ask ourselves. So I get that it can sound threatening in some ways, but there are much more things out there that are threatening besides that first thing that's written about the 500 million. I'm not here to protect or defend any of it. Definitely does feel pretty Masonic. But yeah, how fascinating, right? All of these stones written in stone in many languages. And I can't remember, like, I don't know, Marcus, can you look up when do they say this was created? Because it's not like it's so old or anything like that. You know, it's maybe it was like in the 90s or the 80s or something. So there's lots of considerations about this and what it actually means. But I just know that CERN came into my reality around the same time as this exploded. Oh, and then I want to tell you the other thing that came in around the same time. On the same TV, after the like state of the emergency thing went through, and I watched Stranger Things and the portals and all of that, there was a movie on. It was in Spanish, and it had Tom Hanks in it. And this dude's he's just on the mission. He's like running around and he's in all these sacred churches and he's got like stones and crystals or something. And I'm like, what is this movie? I'm like, this feels like my life, because it does feel like I'm always on a mission going into a church, always got crystals, reversing portals, cleaning shit up. Like, that's really my reality pretty much most of the time. Like right now, I'm a little more settled and relaxing in the mountains. But when I've been in different locations, I'm all up in those churches, cleaning energies, because they're on original dragon lines. I have a lot of old videos from my old YouTube account about some of the work that I've done in there. I always say I'm cleaning the witches and the demons out of the churches, because they were created for pure intentions, but they've been reversed and used for satanic rituals, hidden in plain sight. Most people are completely unconscious about that, because like I'll go into the church and these like sweet innocent women are just like singing their Hail Marys, and I just start crying at like the innocence of their prayers, but then like kind of being able to see and know the truth of what's really going on there. And it's like, damn, there are so many pure-hearted ones that go into the church that are really praying, but like they just don't have the whole story, you know? That's been a lot of our mission work. So anyways, the movie was Dante's Inferno with Tom Hanks. I never did finish watching that movie, but it led me to the Da Vinci Code. And I can't believe I went that long within my life. By the way, the Georgia Guidestones fell on July 6th, 2022. So we're on a 4-year anniversary of that. So that's when CERN came into my reality. And they said that CERN was being turned on at that time. And I'm like, what the fuck is CERN? And so now all of a sudden, oh, CERN is being turned off. And so it's like, whatever it is and whatever it means, all I know is that we're here to move beyond being controlled by machines. And I do believe that this has had to do with timeline manipulation. And our perception of time is so construed. Now, going back to the Da Vinci Code, that was the first time I'd ever considered the idea that there was a physical human Christed bloodline. That's what they actually were referring to as the Holy Grail. I have a lot of different wild out there proposals. Even today, I was listening to my friend Dahlia. She's with Annie Williams and Dan Winters. I posted their video on my page. Go check it out. It's talking about the Queen of Heaven, Isis, Mary, purity codes. I love her work. I love the physics of the way that Dan Winters brings it in. And okay, Dahlia, Dan Winters. Oh, Da Vinci Code, Christ, Mary, bloodline. Yeah, she's talking about the Avatar Christ. You know, every time they say the Mother, the Father, they always say the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, first of all. And I'm like, that is so masculine. And then even the idea of Jesus or the Christ being a man, being a son, is so interesting. What if it was a woman? What if it was a daughter? What if it was a woman that could have and birth children? How do we know for sure? I mean, someone just sent me a video the other day of men in, oh my God, where was that? It's like the Mecca and the Black Cube. It's nothing but men. It had this beautiful sounding chant actually, but it was like nothing but men. There is not a woman to be found. These are still in the like the Allah codes where like the women have to be covered, and I mean all kinds of shit is done to them. It's like the woman was written out on all levels. The mother was written out on all levels. When you go into the churches of the Catholic Church, usually the Mother Mary is like hidden in this little cage and shit. We've got a crucified man at the top with blood dripping off, and then we've got this woman hiding in a cage. And so I've always said that this was about freeing the mother codes every time I would go into the church, rewriting the codes and the return of the mother and the redemption of the feminine. And everyone talks about a return of the Christ, and I'm like, everyone's waiting for some man to return or something. And I'm like, what about the return of the feminine? What about the return of the mother? What about the sacred womb of all of creation? And so that feels like one of the things here to collapse the old patriarchal systems into more of a synarchy and a synergy is the balance of the feminine and the masculine. It's always been the mother and the father, not just the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the mother, the father, the child. Those are the real sacred Trinity codes. So the way I see CERN anyways, though, to finalize and answer your question about that, Renee, is like, it does feel like the end of time was December 21st, 2012. And it feels like there was like an intentional hijack. Maybe some of you guys have heard about Project Looking Glass. That would be a cool one to pull up in the Ascension Glossary, Project Looking Glass. After this, I'll check out what Marcus just pulled up here. But there's this idea that there was this looking glass technology and you could kind of see into the future, but it had an end date, you know, and let's just say that end date was 2012. And so from that moment in time, it was about grasping the attention of the many to kind of control the outcome of certain timelines. Now, CERN was originally created in like the 50s or something like that. Like I'm really, chronological order and linear time is highly questionable. That's the first thing, rule number one of the Flight Club. We are time travelers. Time is not what it seems. The clock is not what it seems. Time is the satanic ritual, if you ask me. The crucifixion is as well. But it's very interesting around the 40s and the 50s, the 1940s and 50s window, what was coming out. The creation of Israel, the United Nations, NASA, CERN, and I'm not sure of the creation of HARP and DARPA, but probably they're all in the same little window. Now it's crazy because, you know, the Ascension Glossary brings up NAA, stands for Negative Alien Agenda. And then when you think about NASA, it says NASA, but still you could switch the letters around and be like Negative Alien Agendas. You know, because I think we're all starting to figure out we didn't really land on the moon. My daughter was reminding me of that when she came to visit that time, that she was showing me the the Stranger Things. So anyways, let's see what my star brother just pulled up with the SRA. Excuse me. Okay, SRA, first of all, in gematria, simple gematria, SRA stands, it's number 38, right? And 38 in the gene keys is warrior of light. And the 38 is the opposite code of the 39, which is in tropical transit right now. That's why I always say the warrior of light unlocks Sirius, and I mean SIRIUS, Sirius liberation. So satanics and Luciferians are well aware who controls the mind, controls the soul. And so Jose Arguelles would always say, he who owns your time, or he who owns your time owns your mind. By starting sexual trauma and satanic ritual abuse techniques as young as possible, They hope to fragment the mind as well as the soul. When a person is sexually traumatized, it is the worst damage one can commit to the soul. And that act alone can fragment the personality into dissociative states, schizoid, or extreme trauma-based disorders. This is the NAA, negative alien agenda, strategy with pedophilia and why it's so rampant on the earth today. When this occurs, the satanic entity can bind the person to negative entities through parasitism, or use the people involved much more easily. And so the goal of sexual torture is mental fragmentation as well as soul fragmentation, to program the mind and siphon the person's consciousness and soul body. Like, this is some serious stuff, and we can't look away from this because we are being called to heal this on a planetary level. And so the problem, the reason this is blowing up so hard right now is because we keep not wanting to look at it, and our avoidance of this topic and pretending like it's not existing and the overlooking it. And God, there are so many handlers out there, and they're not just men either. It's crazy how many women, they look like nice old ladies sometimes, are handlers in these traumas. And all these like sex parties and all these, like, it comes into what seems like consensual adult agreements where there's a lot of sexual exploration and stuff. It's still feeding off these same fractured souls. And this is why I'm talking so much about purity, purification, devotion, you know, that inner marriage within the self, so that you can come into contact with someone that is not your trauma mirror, that's not your abuser, you know, but that you're coming into the divine within yourself. And sometimes that looks like being able to identify and remove any and all implants and to dissolve all implants. And they're not physical. And this is about unlocking all the seals, activating the 7 seals, activating the rainbow body. It is the purification. So Black Sun, Draconian agenda. I mean, when I first heard of this shit, I was like, oh my God, this has been running for ages and we don't even know about it. So it's like, now that we're awakening and seeing this, it's like you can identify it very clearly and not question for a second what's going on here on this planet and what we came to end. Because when we were reading a few calls ago, it was about the activation of the Christo Sophia and the family dragon lines. It was talking about the final ending of satanic ritual abuse on this planet. We are making a declaration that we are here to end all of this satanic ritual abuse. So the Black Sun Draconian agenda, ancient roots manipulating draconian reptoids on Earth, masterminds of Council of Nicaea, Church of Rome, Cathar, Essene Crusades, human Holocaust. This is all satanic ritual sacrifice. These are like been normalized as regular histories that we keep repeating. Zeta, which is the Greys, the Zephylim-backed treaties with military-industrial complex and human abduction, right? So that goes back to the Grady treaty that we were bringing in at the beginning of this call, and the experimentation on humans and underground bases. On the highest level, the military is an alien operation. I know and I understand, just like in the church, that there are innocent ones that have been kind of mind controlled and programmed into serving what they think is a pure agenda, but they're basically pawns in a dark game of justifying killing and sacrifice and covering up the truth. What a shock. This is the real apocalypse. This is the real revelation coming into the truth of what's been going on in the church, in the military, in the government, on all levels. And this is the real cosmic disclosure. Zeta and Draconians created alliance for the one world order, transhuman objectives, which is very connected to the vaccinations, the medical groups, and the artificial intelligence agendas, targeting the Christos lines for extermination behind the global health mafia, pharma, and vax. You know, and I experienced this directly when literally we had River in the hospital, and the next thing you know, they were like on our ass. They were hunting us down for 3 years. It was like, get that girl vaccinated. Like, that was one of the last texts that I got from this woman. I told her, and it was in all of my court documents, I said, I had a dream and a vision from the Christ and Mary that I am not to put unholy things in my holy child's vessel. And her response was, get that girl vaccinated. And then my phone matrixed out. Literally, it like had these green lines on it. And I was like, all right, I'm out of here. I never got a phone number again. Unreachable, unfindable. I just left that reality behind and kept my child protected. Costa Rica in particular was the first country to mandate vaccines for children, to mandate the COVID vaccine for children. It was the only country that I believe actually mandated that, and River was kind of born in the center. So we were saying absolutely full fuck no to all vaccines because we know what's in them. We understand very clear this Black Sun draconian agenda, fully equipped with the understanding of a dragon mother in guardian protection for their child. We hold the force field. We don't bow down, we don't back down, we don't fall for these agendas. And I had to forgive myself that I had my first 3 children vaccinated. All right, let's see where you're leading me right now, Marcus. I mean, this is the cosmic awakening. This is all written in the code. This is actually a part of the Great Awakening. This is the truth setting us free. This is protecting our children on all levels. Because child sacrifice looks like a lot of things. It looks like circumcision. Satanic ritual looks like a lot of things. It can look like something totally socially acceptable, like vaccinating and circumcising your child. They're satanic rituals in plain sight. I mean, that's a mind bender, right? You just start to put things in perspective for a minute and check out that Emerald Order code. All right? The Emerald Covenants, the cosmic founders' promise to us was made with the Emerald Covenant that all souls in the fallen universe would eventually be found and return back to their original spiritual home. This was the original divine plan of spiritual ascension, the evolutionary journey through the astrological ages and timelines, which would facilitate our way back home to remember our divine purpose and be united with God. The Guardian Alliance is directed by the Elohim Emerald Order, who support the Guardians incarnated on the earth that are connected to the lineages of the Christos founder races. These are starseeds and indigos that have incarnated specifically to restore the Emerald Covenant or reclamation of the Christos. The Emerald Branu founders specifically incarnate into the Lyran Syrian lines that originate from Sirius B as the Blue Azurites and Oraphim. The Christos founder race's mission includes supporting the pathway of disclosure that leads into planetary liberation and ascension, and providing the records for witness testimony on behalf of the earth and humanity to be freed from their AI alien oppressors and to gain access into the interdimensional free world council. That is us. That is who we are. That is why we came here. The Emerald Founder Records. The Founder Records are also referred to as the Emerald Covenant CDT holographic plates, which originally belonged to all the human 12 tribes. And I always say we're bringing the 12 tribes into the one tribe with the 13, were the principal spiritual teachings that were commonly understood during the Lemurian and early Atlantean times. Each holographic disc was protected and administered to by an assigned Magi Grail king on the earth, who acted as the main guardian of the planetary stargate of his tribe. So those are coming clear, those are being identified, and we're all coming together in council to hold these fields. There is zero personal importance in the service of this divine mission, of the Sacred Heart, of the Emerald Order, of this Emerald Covenant. This is equality and balance. These are the guardians rising and coming together to remember the truth of the power that we have on this earth plane with our presence here on the planet. So let's see, world creation founder races, Emerald Order, Amethyst Order, Gold Order. Like you might even start to have a memory or a feeling or a resonance with one or many of these key codes. This is all written in the scrolls of your DNA. And so you will start to remember actually. And so Marcus, the little live red thing kind of covers up the words so I can't see them. Okay. Yeah, the earth race lines through spirit, thank you, spiritual healing and freedom to enter IFWC, which is International Free World Council, supporting Orifim Indigo Grail lines to awaken and evolve into Diamond Sun. Support all of humanity to regenerate our DNA towards the Diamond Sun, the Gold Sun. So that means moving out of the Black Sun agenda. Educate hidden history, founder records, law of one CDT plates, bioregenesis. Allow free will choice on what agendas humanity follows. Uphold egalitarianism, freedom, reverence for life, unconditional love, respect, and natural laws. So in this free will universe, it's like, here we are throwing out the menu again, and you get to choose. You know, if you are feeling the call, there is no convincing. There's no talking anybody into this, right? We're just pillars of light here to bring the truth as messengers. And Elohim, the Elohim are on the scene. I always say that. Just eat fruit, your entire life will effortlessly transform. Yeah, that's a pretty simple one. Cleaning and purifying the vessel and what you're putting into the vessel on all levels, including your eyes, because we're digesting things through the mouth, but we're also digesting things through the eye and the eyes. And so that's important as well. That's why I say the real fasting, I mean, absolutely, we should practice and experiment with fasting food. I am also a messenger about the elixir of the body, the golden liquid, the morning star, urine therapy. But the real fasting has to do with technology. And wow, this has been my dream and my vision for a long time, to get groups together to literally move into like activating the rainbow light body, drinking the rainbow colors through, you know, fruits and juices, cleaning and purifying the mind, body, and soul, stepping away from the technology, connecting to humans, connecting on the heart level, purifying our own field so we can come into harmonious balance with the others. Yeah, really holding counsel, you know, really holding counsels. That is a dream and a vision of mine. I don't know when and how it takes place, but I know that it is written because I feel it like a dream in my heart. And I'm in the patience of the no time and the no space. So I think we're at a little over the 2-hour mark. It's been great to spend some time with you all. I'll be back on Friday morning. I wanted to give you a snapshot of my book. This is Gene Key 39. And it's crazy because someone told me one time it looks like a placenta. Like I have so many herbs and leaves and flowers that have found their way home within my Gene Keys book. And in this particular case, I guess the flower left an imprint, and somebody told me one time, wow, it looks like a placenta. And it does kind of look like that. But this is the key that we're in transit of now. So if you have a Gene Keys book, or you like to contemplate the Gene Keys, you can get the audio book, you can find the online book, you can go grab a physical book of it. The Gene Key 39 would be a good one to contemplate the tension of transcendence, serious, And let's see. Life bringer, nurturer, caregiver, adrenaline system. It's the physiology of the adrenals. Water over mountain, provoking mutation, connected to the seagull and the goat and the mosquito and the crystal hematite. Service to others through the caring waters of unconditional love. The 39 and the 55 make a channel called the channel of romance. Yeah, it's all about the adrenals. And I want to tell you something interesting that I learned in the process of this mutation. At some point, I started to realize, like, you know how some people will be like, oh, you know what? You have adrenaline to keep you safe. You have fear to keep you safe. I'm like, no, we're not in that stage anymore. Like, I'm not really here at like instinctual protection. Like, I'm always safe. At some point within my journey, around 7 years ago, I started to realize that whatever this thing was, it was called the adrenaline system, which was usually like some kind of like injection of chemicals in my body that felt like, like alert, alert, alert. It didn't exist in my body anymore. And one of the ways that happened is like I was living in the forest, in the jungle, and there was this like wild animal situation going on outside. And my family was freaking out. Their hearts were like beating out of their chests. And I was realizing at that moment, I was like, oh my God, I don't have that anymore. Like, I don't have those butterflies. I don't have that alerting system. There's something more cool, calm, and collected. It's beyond a nervous system. You know, I don't have that fear that there's going to be an accident or like that sudden shock in the body. And yeah, so I started to realize that as part of the mutation that we're all going through in humanity, talk about adrenaline with people revving their engines over there, right? That we actually move beyond that. I always say, like, we're here to be the master, the alchemist, the master of the chemicals in our body. And so either someone else is the master of the chemicals in our body, they're activating our fear, our excitement, our whatevers, or you are. And so eventually, you know, as we turn on that land of milk and honey, and we're talking about ringing the bell and bringing that life force energy all the way up and unlocking the gates of milk and honey in the pineal gland, activating that all-seeing eye, right? We're in that unfuckable, that ineffable plane where we're no longer hijacked by the lower astral. That is the cloak of the Christ. That is the purification process. That is the rapture, the purification of the lower astral body. It's like you're in control, but not in control in the old way of needing to control things, right? You're in that live and let God mode. You're in that invincible mode. You're in that eternal mode. You understand you're on cruise control. You're always in the right place in the right time because you're a time traveler, here to be in service. So, equipped with everything you need in every now moment. So I guess that's it for today. It is great to see you all. And we'll connect in the next perfect moment. It's going to be Friday. Yeah, Friday at 10:44 in the morning. So until then, stay humble, stay honest, stay responsible, radically responsible for doing your work, cleaning your mind, body, and soul, purifying, being honest with yourself, healing that wound of denial. And yeah, if you're ever wanting to dive into the depths of your codes more specifically, just shoot me a message and it'll be my honor. It doesn't have to be about the gene keys. It can just be intuitive reflection, communication, but it's my honor to serve in that way and to connect with my brothers and sisters. I do everything by cosmic donation. Don't hesitate to reach out through Messenger. And we'll see you all in the next perfect moment. Going live again here on Friday. So thank you all. Much love.